you understand the meaning of life. You've awakened. This would have been those past 9 years, destined moments of incredible pain that led you to your awakening, for you to truly understand that pain is a gift. Pain is something that we choose to experience. And I know that most people on this earth will never understand that. Never. But when we are healed, when we reach wholeness, when we go through this journey of brutal awakening to understand the meaning of life, we touch our own soul, we reconnect with our own soul. We no longer feel this deep sadness and this deep pain, because we would have learned to understand that although until the end of our days within this human body we will experience the spectrum of emotions, we learn to ride that wave and let them go. And we understand that constant pain, constant reliving of the past, of the trauma, of things that we're lacking, it's a choice. You would know this collective. You understand that true soul connections, they're meant to reflect our shadow and our light, for us to remember, for us to heal. You've risen. Beautiful. And something sort of felt on my leg, and I felt this shiver. All right, if the whole past part resonated, it's important, remember, my readings, the whole reading has to resonate. Let's do some guidance for you. So let's ask, what is it that you need to still maybe learn about or release? And then we're gonna do some guidance for the next upcoming months, the reminder, as for in previous readings, reminder of this year, so leading to the spring equinox. All right. We have all the cards are from the side of light, which is beautiful. Okay. I feel immediately these are still things that you need to work on a little bit. It doesn't mean that you don't understand these concepts. It doesn't mean that you don't embody on some level these concepts, but there's a reason we pulled these cards. So let's talk about them and let's maybe read through the guidance. Your first card is trust. Trust is so very important, because on this journey, when we realize that we are a blend of ego and a spirit, right? We learn that it's the ego that wants to have all the answers. It's the ego that wants to plan. It's the ego that wants to know it all and see the entire chessboard. The soul understands that there are certain things that we will not be able to comprehend from a place of the ego, because it is a very complicated chessboard. And when we are in a place of soul, we just trust. This is again what I mentioned to you guys, that everything becomes neutral. There is no bad experience, good experience. There's just experience, and how we label this experience, it's exactly what it becomes for us, right? So everything that happens when we trust, we don't say, why did this happen and why we know, thank you. Every day we get up and we say thank you source, thank you my higher self for guiding me, because I am always exactly where I need to be. Even if to an outside observer this day seemed like crap, I know that things that happen needed to happen, either for me to see something or either to course correct for purpose of realignment, whatever that is. I don't need to know all the answers. I trust that what's meant to me, for me, my highest most aligned timeline, as long as I do the inner work, as long as I focus on working on me, my ego, releasing that ego, taming that ego, it will never pass me by. But I want to read through this. Trust is a full commitment to where we place our faith. Maybe in our internal system of beliefs or in a specific path or a person. Our trust reassures us that future will unfold in alignment with our greatest good. When we have trust, we take actions in alignment with our beliefs. We know that we are guided and protected. We surrender to that trust, knowing that what we feel in our intuition and inner wisdom will always guide us. When we are wounded, we can confuse trust with resignation. There is a difference between victim of fate and master of destiny. Remember, true trust is rooted in love and wrapped in joy and optimism. Trust means surrendering to the path of knowing you will be guided where you need to be. Exactly that. We'll leave it at that. Your second card is connection. I feel this collective, to be honest, you're very connected in. Again, you had beautiful cards, right? You really, I feel, you know, some people in some collectives, we have our own individual cycles, 2-year cycles, right? This cycle that we're ending right now, it's sort of a collective cycle. It's starting a new cycle of new 9 years collectively for us as humans, right? So we're obviously in different level of readiness, in different level of preparation. And some people unfortunately missed some opportunities and missed some lessons, and they're going to repeat patterns from the previous cycle. And I've mentioned this to you guys when I've done the video that sort of opened this whole series, that no one will stay same when that cycle is over. It's just that the question is, are you going to expand and grow and learn all your lessons and start a brand new cycle? Or you gonna armor up and clam up, and you're gonna start a cycle where you're gonna be different and lessons are gonna be different, but we're gonna be repeating the same patterns because you haven't learned, right? So some people will stay on that level, and some people will jump on another cycle, but they are still so not yet ready. Right? It's like it's gonna be brutal for them, right? And some people, like you, this collective, you're so ready. They're literally showing me, you know, a train station, and a train is arriving, and there are people like screaming and running for that train to catch that train, to be able to, you know, make it on time, and you are there sitting, finishing your coffee, because you've been sitting on that station for quite a while. You had time to order yourself a coffee, right? You had time to stretch your legs, to do some contemplation. You're here. You're here. And this is why, as we're now in this period of time, right, where we're moving exactly from that cycle to another, and we're moving as well from the year of snake, when we've been all shedding, to the year of fire horse. And there's also a matter of what I've talked to you guys about in my recent video about 2026. I think I haven't posted that yet. I'll do it in the afternoon. That it's collectively a year of huge shifts to start to differentiate the new earth from old earth. So that's exactly the energy. Some people now, they feel the pressure to do something, to change something, to put their life, you know, upside down, because they feel subconsciously or consciously that there's something that they haven't completely learned in that 9-year cycle, that they haven't, right? They're still running for that train. This is why they feel a little bit of this anxiety, or a little bit of, they're unstable right now, right? Because some of them, you know, have more consciousness, so they know, they trust, they know that it's happening for a reason, and some of them have no idea what's going on, but there's this collective right, running for that train. Whereas some people, again, like this collective, you have no reason to make any adjustments, to make any changes, to feel this nervousness. You may feel a little bit of something. We subconsciously feel that something is coming, that a huge shift is coming, but you're sitting pretty. Again, you're sitting pretty with your coffee on that station because you've done the work. You're ready for that next chapter. You're ready for that next cycle, which is beautiful. Let's read through this connection. All living things are interconnected. We are one supreme consciousness, experiencing life through illusion of separation. We are the universe, and all answers always reside within. When we connect in, we release the ego and expand our consciousness beyond the temporary human experience. We've talked about this. We start to understand the meaning of life and human nature through looking inwards and connecting profoundly to ourselves. Beautiful. You're connected in. You understand. There's a reason I've mentioned to you guys in a previous spread that you're whole. There's always, I feel this collective, and I've mentioned this in one of my previous collectives, and I think if you go to my Instagram, you find a video on a snap. I sort of sometimes cut out important parts of collectives and post them on my Instagram. When I was talking about the spiral, that when you awaken, when we start the journey, right? We go inwards. The spiral go inwards. We go deeper and deeper and deeper, and we repeat certain learnings. And every time we repeat it, it's not a repetition, because we're ready to go deeper with certain wounds, with certain traumas, with certain shadows, with certain understandings of certain concepts. And when we would really reach that depths of you, of your nature, of human nature, of the meaning of life, the healing journey ends. We reach wholeness. We neutralize everything, right? We live in a state of peace and love, and we're ready for expansion. And this is where we sort of breathe outwards. We start to expand our world, our consciousness, right? Transform. And that's that shift for you. You're standing in front of a journey now that will be a journey of transformation, and will be a journey of growth, of expansion, of, you know how I always say to you guys that the journey, the inward spiral, I describe it sometimes as moving through the bridge. First go upwards, then you go downwards, but you have to cross the bridge. It's always dangerous. It's always full of challenges. At one point you reach your garden and you start building your garden. You're ready to expand, to recreate your world, because as we cross the bridge, as we go inwards into the spiral, we go for a complete system reboot. We remove the conditioning, we remove the matrix, right? Transformation. I feel that these two, right, are still certain things that you may want to work on. So let's read through this. The only constant in life is change. The universe itself is expanding all the time. If we don't submit ourselves to the flow of transformation, we risk being left behind. Transformation is not about external change. It always starts from internal shifts, and if relevant, those will be naturally reflected in our external physical world. We must first open our minds and accept expanded ways of perceiving life to truly transform and grow. When we're wounded, we fear change. We prefer to stay in our comfort. I feel like this is not for this collective, but there was one, I mean the last paragraph, because you're no longer wounded. But there was a thing in this card that sort of caught my attention. I oftentimes say to you guys that when we go through a journey of change and transformation, it's exactly what this card says. It's not about external change. It always starts from internal shifts. And when relevant, those will be naturally reflected in our external world. So sometimes when you look back, even 9-year cycle or more, it's like you're on the same job, you're in the same apartment, many things in your, you make the same amount of money, right? Many things in your external life did not change. But it's exactly for the purpose of understanding that life isn't about external change. Life doesn't get easier. Life doesn't get different. We get better because we choose to grow. We choose to expand. We choose to expand our consciousness, understand things differently. We choose whether we want to suffer pain or whether we want to trust that everything happens for a reason, right? It's a choice. So sometimes for many of us, as we go through this journey, literally nothing changes in the external world. Like I said, same job, same salary, same apartment, same sort of a lifestyle, same situation, but we're a completely different person. And external change will only happen when A, we release the need for external change. We no longer even ask for it. B, it's relevant. right? And this is why, and it was coming to my mind, so I also want to mention this to you guys, that some people, as they go through this journey, the external change happens in their life from day one, and their life completely changes. So you cannot, this is why we can't compare. Sometimes we grow on this journey and we feel like I'm putting in so much work and I'm still same job, same salary, same people, right? And for this other person, everything changed. But in reality, maybe for this person it changed not because they were stronger or they grew better or they farther along. There is no farther along and behind on this journey. It's a spiral, right? Again. But maybe for them this change was relevant. Maybe for their transformation, certain things in their external world just couldn't go on, right? And that's the reason it's coming to my mind. I always say this to you guys, not to compare, because when you look at someone, even let's say this person sort of started their journey or awakened more or less in the same, like maybe like a year before or 2 years before, which is nothing, right? And now you see them that they're already living their purpose. They've changed their career. They moved to a different apartment, right? Their life is completely transformed. It seems like this life is more in line, right? And you feel like you're behind. But in reality, anything can happen. A moment that you will realize that it is a constant spiral, and suddenly our lives can change from one day to another, and suddenly you will realize that this person was going for so many changes, but they're not really so much ahead of me when it comes to consciousness, right? It's just that external change was relevant for them. I hope it makes sense and you understand what I'm saying. As always, it will make sense for the right collective, but maybe there's something that you also need to understand, that change and transformation is not linear. So you cannot compare yourself to others. You cannot be too focused on the external change and the external gain that you have in life. You cannot the value that you associate with the work that you've done and the journey that you've been through, you cannot associate it to the external change in your life, right? Because some people get that change, like I said, because it's relevant for reassurance, because their path is completely different. But then you will jump over them 5 times. So don't compare. Again, there's a reason it came to my mind. And your last card is sensuality. Sensuality is a deep connection to our senses and freedom of expression. Through presence and connection to our body, we can profoundly tap into our senses and experience pleasures of physical realm. Healthy sacral space is necessary to fully tap into our sensuality. If we are bound by guilt or shame, if we lack self-worth and are not fully free in our authentic self-expression, we will not be able to connect to our senses. When we're wounded, we confuse sensuality with shallow sexuality. Remember, sensuality allows us to feel into our body and experience physical pleasures on all levels. It has nothing to do with proving something or seducing through control or manipulation. True sensuality is pure authenticity. Number 33. What's coming to my mind, 2 things. One, I feel this collective, you should embrace your sensuality. You should work on connecting more and deeper to your body, releasing any residual shame or guilt that you may still feel into your body. Maybe your path somehow links into trauma release for body. You know they're so, it's in it like, is it the somatic movement or the somatic dance, and how they call it, to understand how to connect to your body and move your body. I sort of do it intuitively. I'm not good with labels, but there are spiritual teachers who do that to teach you to sort of be in your body, right, and arrive in your, maybe there's a reason it's coming to my mind that you should explore this collective. But the second thing that I was thinking is that, remember, we've mentioned for this collective that you had a misconception of lust and passion. Maybe there's a reason you didn't understand it fully. Maybe it's a topic that you should explore further. It's a topic that links to your path and to your journey. It's kind of a ringing in my mind. So allow it to land again in your body, how you feel about that, if you truly do maybe there's something in it that you should explore and you should understand how we really, every experience, every trauma, every sadness, every joy as well is felt in our body and is stored in our body. And if we don't properly feel it, if we don't allow it to sort of blend with the body to be released, we force our body to constantly sort of contract instead of release and expand. Right? When something happens to our body, good or bad, it's a reaction. So there's a moment of contraction. It's that step back before you jump forth, right? But if we pause it at there, we start to accumulate that shame within our body, that for how we feel, for how our body feels. So every emotion, whether that's trauma, it's pain, it's grief, it's disappointment, it has to be felt within the body and it has to be released. And there are different techniques that, every person, we have our own individual ways and preferred ways that we do that. But specifically, there are spiritual teachers who teach that, whether that's for movement, for massage, through a specific way of touching and tapping your body, feeling into your body. It can be through yoga positions. It can be through breath work. It can be through combination of I can't remember right now what's it called, but there are beautiful spiritual teachers who sort of teach that and guide people through that. So food for thought again. Everything in a reading comes to me for a reason, so maybe you should explore that. All right, let's do guidance for the reminder of this year. What is it? What's coming? What is it that you need to know? What's coming? Opportunity. We have opportunity and breakthrough. Shut the front door. And we have red door. Hold on. Let me do two more. One more. All right, let's see. Destiny path. Okay. I'm focusing on the fact that we have bees on two of these cards. So maybe bees are important. There's your spirit animal, they're significant, there's a meaning. They're also showing me a bee jewelry. Jewelry, or sometimes, you can buy like purses for women that have like that bee, that sort of a bee or a bug. So maybe you recently purchase something like that, or you have already something like that. So your first two cards, number 16 and number 29, we have opportunity and we have breakthrough. So I feel there is something big coming for this collective. Hold on, they're correcting me. Let's take a step back and let's remind ourselves what I said about external. There is definitely a change. There is a shift. There is a breakthrough and there is an opportunity. They told me to lose the word big, not because it's not gonna be big, but because this collective, we're releasing those kind of a label. Is it big? Is it huge? Is it small? It just is. It's an opportunity for deeper alignment, for expanded consciousness. The breakthrough card talks a little bit about the lizard brain, right? The monkey mind. And my mind goes back to the trust card that we pulled for you. So maybe there is something that you still need to release when it comes to certain systems of beliefs, certain conditioned thinking, linking to that full trust. Right? And it's funny, just a side note, at the bottom of the deck, we have shake, release, move on. Number 27, this card talks specifically about what I just told you guys. The movement of the body. Human beings are one of the only creatures, if not the only creatures, as far as I know, living creatures on planet Earth that don't have this natural mechanisms. Maybe we used to have it, that when we face trauma or something difficult, we shake it off. Animals have that, right? You can read about it online if you didn't know that, or I can't remember what's it called. There was a specific scientist that discovered that and worked on that and have done a lot of papers on that when animals in the wild that they go for certain trauma, whether that's like an accident, they fall from a place, or they're being attacked by a predator, they sort of pause their body, and then when they have a moment that can recover, they shake it off, right? It's one of the ways of releasing. The shaking it off is one of the ways of releasing the trauma. And we're the only being on earth that lost this capacity and doesn't have it. That's why through reconnecting to our body and understanding how our body work, how we literally can shake things off physically, and it's a powerful thing. So again, confirmation, I feel it's relevant for this collective. But I feel there is some sort of opportunity coming. Maybe red door is also important. Maybe you will see a red door. Maybe it will be a sign. Maybe you even live in a house with a red door, or you'll have an opportunity to move into the house with a red door. I'm also seeing a dream. Maybe you will dream about a red door, moving through a red door. But I feel there is an opportunity coming, and that opportunity will also come with a bit of a change of a mindset and a shift of a mindset, and releasing still certain limiting beliefs. We have see beyond the past, the see beyond the past card, and it's funny because there's a black swan and a white swan in reflection. And in a previous spread, I think I didn't show you guys this card. Hold on, I will find it. Hold on. Okay, got it. This was the Two of Cups in this deck, and it's the same thing. It's a black and it's a white reflection. And remember we were talking about, this is a bit of a different meaning, because this is the you from the past and the you from now. So the you, the black swan, the one that was bound by shadows, that lacked self-love, and the one that is emerging. And this was more about a reflection with soul connections, right? So we reflect each other through soul connections, the shadows to help each other heal, but also the light to remember our beauty, our light, our brightness, our greatness. I feel this is really important for this collective, the understanding. Maybe it links to that breakthrough and something that you will still understand. That ultimately, right, whether we form union with our soul connection, or whether we are in inner union within ourselves, it's not that the darkness disappears. It's not that the darkness is evil. It's not that the darkness is something we should fear. Darkness allows the shadow to exist, right? It's the full acceptance. And my mind goes back to what we said in the beginning, that remember that you were working on self-love and acceptance and detaching, but maybe you haven't fully detached from all versions of you. Maybe you're being guided to fully accept yourself. You know, on this journey, especially when we start doing shadow work, and we constantly like this shadow, this trauma, I have to heal it, release it, accept it, love it. We sort of pick up the pace of that journey with years, as years go by, and sometimes we reach that moment that we're already healed, but we're starting to look for new things to work on and to improve. But some shadows, we're not meant to be perfect. Shadows will always be there, but some shadows are even allowed to sometimes, push through. And I always say this to you guys, it's the 80-20 sort of a rule. Sometimes we can allow ourselves to be a little bit petty, or be a little bit, whatever it is, that we're not meant to be floating angels here. We're not meant to be perfect. Perfection is a myth of a matrix. It's something that keeps us in a constant hamster wheel loop. You are perfect just the way you are. Maybe it's time for you to embrace certain imperfections, certain things that, are very yours, and then it's okay. There's nothing wrong with these things. And the last card is a beautiful card. We have Destiny Path, Omnia Unus Est, which is everything is one, all is one, something like that. It's Latin. There are bees here as well. And this card sort of, I saw it and it sort of wraps everything beautifully for us, because this card talks about, first of all, that